Welcome to Awakening Streams, the podcast of One River Zen Meditation Center in Ottawa, Illinois. Hosted by Sensei Michael Brunner. Learn more, donate, and practice with us at oneriverzen.org.
Have all be here for this beautiful autumn morning. Yeah. This practice is such a wonderful way of collecting ourselves, bearing witness to ourselves, and allowing the universe to bear witness through us. When we slow down, when we drop off our judgments, our ideas about the way things should be, or the way things are, and we're just here and we just breathe. We just see clearly. Yeah. Shouldn't be underestimated, but we get so latched onto or even addicted to the buzz of being carried away in our thoughts and our judgments that sometimes just the act of seeing our lives as they are pales in comparison, especially from the perspective of the small self. And yet, that's where our lives bear fruit. That's the bleeding edge of the womb of the Buddhas, when we can enter into that emptiness and begin to appreciate everything clearly, and then we manifest as compassion. And without it, our lives just pass us by, and we cling to a story. There's a case in the Shoyoroku. It's the 14th case. It's called Attendant Kaku Serves Tea. It's a wonderful motto between a teacher and student. Student's a bit insolent, but even in that, there's a gateway for awakening. The case is, attention. Attendant Kaku asked Tokusan, "Where do the holy ones of the past go?" Tokusan answered, "What? What?" Kaku said, "Give an imperial order for a fleet horse, and out comes a lame tortoise." At that, Tokusan desisted. The next day, Tokusan left his bath, and Kaku brought over tea and served it to Tokusan. Tokusan patted him once on the shoulder. Kaku said, "Old man, at last you're beginning to see." And at this, Tokusan once again desisted. It's an almost painful exchange between a master of great standing and rapport at that time in his life, and a student who apparently believes he's penetrated to the heart of the whole thing and is there to instruct his teacher. Yeah. Tokusan lived at the end of the 8th century in China, and he was a scholar of the Diamond Sutra. Some of you know him. He was a successor of Ryutan. Ryutan is in the case, Ryutan's name echoed long in the Mumonkan, which goes over this exchange in which Tokusan saw awakening. And just from the simple act of a lamp being extinguished. And with that, Tokusan actually opened up his eyes. He opened up his eyes to the darkness that was before him that he hadn't ever actually saw. Yeah, he saw it reflected constantly in his discursive mind. And Tokusan was very learned. Wherever he would go, he would carry around a cart. And on that cart were all of his commentaries on the Diamond Sutra, which is a famously cryptic Zen text that Tokusan believed he had mastered. And yet he missed where it was all pointing until Ryutan gave him a gentle encouragement over the edge. Now, Tokusan's teachings weren't always as kind and gentle as Ryutan, his masters, had been. He scolded his students pretty belligerently. In a way, though, to encourage them to see beyond their fixed ideas. Sometimes we get so trapped in the story that the only thing that can snap us out of it is an occasional, hey, pay attention. And but here we're seeing him aging and mellowing over time, and he's working with a student that's difficult. Kaku was one that wouldn't have accepted the stick. He still had some arrogance and some self-clinging going on. And Tokusan is apparently very aware of this. And you can tell he just pauses. When the student flares up, when his small self comes to the fore. Sometimes in that pregnant pause is the only place that we can kind of motion to or encourage the student to look. Anything, when we get into a shouting match back and forth about conceptual ideas or even ideas about respect and teacher-student, we can actually wind up stirring up more karmic dust than settles as a part of the matter. Sometimes a tough word from the teacher is a good way to work with a rigid student. Each student's different, though. And so in this case, Tokusan chooses to desist in both cases. It's important that the teacher know how to act skillfully with the student, but it's also important that we, as all of us as Zen students, know how to act skillfully with our teacher. And ultimately, our teacher is just the very point of our lived experience. Yeah. Feeling the cold wind biting our face. Yeah. Or the fall of our foot as we walk Kinyon. Or the tears in the eye of a child that call us back to the sobriety and the current moment of suffering. When we go in to see our teacher, the important thing is for us to drop our ideas, let go of our beliefs, let go of how we think we should see it, and open to seeing it as it is. When we can do that, we actually begin to appreciate this notion of emptiness. But this emptiness isn't some void, sterile place. Again, it's the womb of the Buddhas. It's the place of creativity. Out of this emptiness emerges compassion to reknit the unity of our lived experience and to experience the wholeness of interdependence. So in a way, we meet in this no place. Yeah? But this no place extends everywhere and is boundless. So when the student's asking where the Holy One went, Holy Ones went, looking for some sort of rarefied air of practice. He wants to know, he wants to be present with all of the spirit of the times, all of the ardor, all of the candor in which those masters expressed the way and were able to bring students to awakening. He says, that's where I want to go. That's where I'm going. Yeah? Tokusan is listening to this. Yeah? He's asking a simple question. What? What? Huh? What a wonderful reminder. Yeah? That if you want to find it, there's no other place to find it other than right where you're standing. There's no good old days somewhere to retreat to. And there's no future state where everything will fall into place. If you want to find that awakening, you're going to find it right here, right where you stand with your next breath. Tokusan's encouraging the student to hear. But the student, of course, carried away by delusions of some ideal, wants to walk into the pages of those dusty old books and try to relive an experience. It's like eating a very stale sandwich. Rather than just opening to the joy of the present and recognizing that when we come up, when we show up in that way, we're seeing through the eyes of all of the masters. All of the holy ones are embodied right here and right now. But if you develop any idea of what you think it should be, well, you've lost it. In this case, Tokusan's doing a wonderful job. He's like a father watching his child make a mess of his breakfast, right? Rubbing it in his hair, all over his face. Yeah. And recognizing that sometimes we have to let that happen. We have to let that playful attitude be present, that experimentation. Yeah. Because without it, the child will never learn to be hungry and to appreciate that food is for nourishment. Yeah? You can't shove it down his throat. He's going to have to appreciate it himself over time. You hope the child's going to want to eventually keep the food on their plate and put it in their mouth and stay clean, yeah, in the process, and nourished so that they can nourish others. But you have to trust that we have to be allowed sometimes to make those mistakes and to enter into folly and foibles, to actually see a way clear out of our delusions. So when you find yourself there, a mess, yeah, don't despair. Yeah, don't be embarrassed. Yeah. Just pick up your napkin, wipe off your face, and get to eating. Yeah. Don't dwell on the past mistakes or on the follies that have led up to this moment. Just engage with this moment directly, and you'll find it right where you stand. Yeah. We have to all come to the point where we actually want to be clear of all of our clingings, of all of our ideation. We have to appreciate that the story, no matter how long we tell it, no matter how much more articulate we get in spelling it out, just doesn't compare to showing up and being present and to manifesting as the compassion that the world needs rather than railing about the lack of it. Yeah. This is no dress rehearsal, folks. This is it right here. And when you bear witness to suffering, you're the one to step in and make it happen. Don't wait for some other person, some other moment, or some holy ones of old to manifest and do it. When you do it, you'll meet those holy ones face to face. You'll be breathing through the same nostrils, and you'll know precisely who it is that's in charge. You'll know precisely who the master is.
Thank you for joining us. If this podcast was meaningful for you and supported your practice, please give us a hand by visiting us at oneriverzen.org today.